Hi, everyone. There you are. All right. Okay. There she is. Hi, Dimple.
Hi, how are you, Heather?
I'm good. I am so excited to be having this conversation with you. I was just saying that I feel like we are soul sisters on a mission to help women, help empower women to release the past and to step into the truth of who we are and who we're meant to become. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with you right now. And I'm just going to keep looking over here because I think this is where I can see any comments that are
Okay.
going on. Um,
Yeah.
so, Dimple, I think, like I said, we're both on the same pathway of helping women. And, why are we talking about this? Why
hmm
are we actually having this conversation in the first place? So, I know that you have a great story, and just personally, it's my passion to help women get to the truth of who they are and to help them live into the best life that they're actually meant to live, which is a huge part of like releasing the past and like letting that go. So I thought maybe you could also tell us a little bit about yourself
hmm
and talk a little bit about your story and
hmm
what brought you here.
hmm Thanks. I'm so excited to have these stories with you and the stories with the women that are going to join us today live. Through many, 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 many years of self-discovery and self-work and self-care, self-love, everything that's self-related, um, I realized that there are two big truths in my life, and one of them is that women flourish through engaging in self-care rituals and just self-love. Call it what you want, but if they have that element in their lives, they can really flourish and succeed. And the second big truth of my life is that when women have each other, that through connection, which is the second big element in their life, they can thrive and flourish. So not just survive or just be on autopilot, but thrive and flourish. So I
Absolutely.
came to, yeah, I came to this, and that's how you and I met. And,
Yeah.
this is the beauty of the conversation that we're having today. It's just the perfect example of how women come together and are doing the work that they are meant to do, like their soul's work. It creates such a beautiful environment for other women to do the same. So for me, I'm 44 now, and I think it took me a good 40 years of my life to really come to these realizations. So it's not easy, depending on where you are in your life. And I was held back for a long, long time, it seems, because of shame. So shame was a big thread and theme in my life for a long time. It prevented me from really stepping into my own power or my truth, and really helping me to take the steps that I needed to take to live a life that I would call my own. I was living someone else's life.
Mm,
And just to give you a shortened version of it, I realized all this when my marriage fell apart. So there was a lot of shame in that. I mean, shame's kind of been a part of my life since I was a kid, but it pretty much peaked during that time in my life when I realized that my marriage is just not working the way I want it to work. And instead of confronting it or seeking help or reaching out, I suffered in silence. And
mm,
because of that, I engaged in self-numbing behaviors,
yep.
anything that would numb my pain. And part of that is having an affair. So that was another shame. So you want to add another element of shame to my life. There's that. So you can imagine for 10 years, I was stuck in that pattern. So I kind of just kept digging a deeper hole for myself until one day, through a lot of support, through counseling, through reaching out to other women, well, oftentimes we underestimate the reaction that we're going to get from other people. When given the opportunity to be vulnerable, people will invite you into their space and hold
Mm.
and make it safe for you. So that's really where my story started to bloom later in life at the age of 40. And I realized that working through shame and letting go of those shame stories and exercising self-compassion is really important in order to live a life that will not only serve you, but it will serve others around you.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing your story. And I know you also share your story in your book. So you
Mm-hmm.
can tell us the name of your book as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. So I have a chapter in the book called Women Rising, Volume 3. And along with my story, there are beautiful, 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 vulnerable, sacred stories of other women who have risen up to the challenge. And the challenge has helped them really succeed in life, not just get through the challenge, but to be a better version of themselves.
Great. So everybody can check that book out. And I think
Mm-hmm.
one of the most important things you just said is that you felt like you were not living your life, right? Like you were
Mm-hmm.
living somebody else's life.
Mm-hmm.
And the importance of that, because we know from hospice care research that the number one regret of dying is that people never lived their own lives, right? It's like the number one regret of people about to die is that they never found the courage to actually go for their own dreams and live their own life. And so I literally feel like what we're talking about right now is the most important thing for people to understand, because it's okay now. Like we're in our midlife and it's painful and there's these things, but like you said, you can suffer in silence. There's so many ways that all of us, myself included, we like numb out that pain and just continue to push through it, right? And so that is what I personally am trying to get women to awaken to, the fact that like this pain is actually a lesson that your life needs to go in a different direction. Like there's
Yep.
something you need to heal or change or transform in your life in order for you to actually live your own life and live the potential that you are meant to live. And I've experienced it over and over again working with women about how shame and guilt and fear actually holds them back
Mm-hmm.
from stepping into their truth and
Mm-hmm.
stepping into what it is that they really truly feel like they are supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
doing or that their lives meant for.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And it's pretty paralyzing, it's this being stopped in your tracks kind of feeling, and it takes a lot of courage, but that courage can happen in baby steps. Like that's what I usually share with other women, is that my story or who I evolved to become didn't happen overnight or in a year or 2 years. It took a long time because you're undoing a lot of programming that's been done as a child even. So to exercise that self-compassion is so important. But yeah, it's like paralyzing. Like it can really hold you back for forever. And I love that whole point that you made about the research that they did in hospice and, really becoming aware. And for a lot of people, it takes that rock bottom moment, or it takes the passing of away of someone they love, and realizing, wow, like I want to be in my rocking chair at the age of 90, looking back at my life and saying, you know what, I did everything that I needed to do to make sure that I lived a life that was real and true to me.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what we want to, that's the goal, right? Is to like get to the to the end and say like I did it
Yes, I did
in
it.
my way, in the best
Yeah.
way possible. And what you just mentioned about like the paralyzing effect, um, and the shame and all these things, these are like the fear, the shame, the lack of forgiveness is what freezes us, right? It like solidifies us into this paralyzing place of like not being able to move. And so through my training in forgiveness, one of the things that I learned is that when you can practice self-forgiveness, and self-compassion is obviously a huge part of this, but forgiveness is actually the remedy for unfreezing
Mm-hmm.
yourself so
Mm-hmm.
that you can like breathe again, so that you can move forward into what it is that you're meant to do. So it, because it's really like all these things, fear and shame and guilt, these are ego based things, right? Like the ego is there to teach us, to keep us from the truth of who we are. The ego wants to keep us paralyzed. The ego wants to keep us fearful. And when we can transcend the ego using forgiveness and self-love and self-compassion, that is when the miracle really
Mm-hmm.
occurs, and when your life begins to transform and shift.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's almost like you have to like think of yourself as this you know, like that innocent little child, like the little girl inside who before you knew anything was wrong with you or that you did anything bad, you know, who was that innocent little child? And you have to take on the mothering role. Like we have these different lives inside of us. So you have this innocent little child, and then you have this mother who's like the protector and like the unconditional love in your life. So it's almost like you have to tap into that mother inside of you and show that little innocent child like that it's okay. No matter what a child does, like the mother will never lose love, unconditional love child. So you have both of those inside of you. And if you are able to mother from the self-compassionate place inside of you to show that little girl unconditional love, it's okay, and truly let her know that like you will never leave her, you will never not love her, not even an ounce will go away of love. And that's the truth of who you are, right? It's like we are actually just pure love, and it's that ego, that stories, the BS stories that we've been told from society and our parents and ourselves that get in the way. But if you can actually transcend that using self-compassion, unconditional love, that mothering aspect, and then also there's another higher aspect of you, of inside of you, which is like, I call it the inner wise woman or the inner goddess or however you want to refer to it. But it's that part of you inside that's going like, none of this actually matters. You're actually here for something much greater, much more beautiful. Like, let's like, yes, love yourself through that. Let's forgive because you're here for a much bigger reason. Like, let's move on from this. So you have all three of those inside of you. And what I teach women is to like, let's tap into each part of those things so you can connect to that innocent girl who's the truth of who you are and love her unconditionally through that mother, and then realize like now you got to be bold and brave and like step through these things and into your power and your truth.
And I 100% agree with that. And one of the things that I think is also important to bring up along with forgiveness, self-forgiveness and self-compassion is the question that a lot of women have probably, you know, in their head that I did for a long time was, you know, if I exercise self-compassion and forgiveness, am I being too easy on myself? Okay, so that's a common question that women think of, and they think, oh no, I, you know, that's just, I'm just being easy on myself. I need to push myself. I need to criticize. I need to, you know, engage in those, come on, let's do it. Like it's, you know, that kind of self-talk, which is not compassionate. And I did a whole reading on a book called Self-Compassion. And oh my God, for the life of me, I can't remember the author's name, but I know who she is. She's a pioneer in self-compassion. It'll come to me.
You'll post it after.
Yes. In any case, the book basically talks about the difference between self-criticism and self-esteem and self-compassion. And really what research is showing is that by exercising self-compassion, you're able to sustain those good habits. And it's not through self-criticism. So that's really important that self-compassion has a longer life than criticizing yourself does. Criticism may bring short-term results, but it's not sustainable.
And isn't that just so beautiful?
Like what, you know, that's great because it's one of the hardest things for women to do is exercise forgiveness towards themselves and to extend self-compassion. And, you know, I do these women's circles under Bindi Parlor and we explore different themes. And when it comes to self-compassion, the amount of tears that are flowed in that circle because you come to the realization that you're actually being really mean to yourself.
Yes. And anytime you're hearing that ego-based, that fear-based inner critic, the gremlin, you know, that voice that's keeping you down, I want everybody to understand that that is the ego at its best. That is, it's dividing you from your truth. And you actually have the choice in every moment, because your ego's not really going to go away, right? I mean, unless you're like an enlightened master, your ego's not really going away. So you have a choice to recognize in the moment who is speaking here. And is that who I want to listen to? Is that my truth? Is that what I want to create for my life? If I was a mother, going back to this, talking to my daughter, my inner child, I would never speak to her like that. I want her to be lifted up and empowered and unconditionally loved. So when you catch yourself, when we catch ourselves, because I do it too, obviously. So when we catch ourselves speaking with that inner critic voice, we have a choice in that moment of going, wait a minute, you don't get to be in charge here.
Exactly.
You know, take a back seat. I've listened to you long enough. Look where you've gotten me. You know? So
that's right.
tell the ego to take a back seat and then slow it down, right? Slow down and go, wait a minute. What do I need here? And most of the time, what we find is we need self-compassion, right? And that self-love. And forgiveness, you know, and forgiveness is a process. Like the things we're talking about here aren't easy, right? It's not like, it's not like, well, there are certain times where, you know, we practice like what I call instant forgiveness. It's like, okay, we have a bigger mission here. Something happened between us that like, I'm just going to step right over because I can't go there. It's not worth it. So there are times where instant forgiveness is totally possible, but these deeper, more shameful, old stories that we bring along with us, this is a process, you know, it's a process that,
definitely,
that we have to go through. And I think what you were talking about by reaching out to other people and gaining community around that, because sometimes we can't just talk to our friends. Like sometimes we have friends that, you know, aren't actually the friends we need at that moment in order to move forward and through into a new version of ourselves.
Yeah, I think community is key. I think community, like-minded people who have gone through what you've gone through or similar paths, or people who are open, who are leading with their whole heart is what you need in a community, and community is so important. I mean, we found each other through a community as well. So creating those connections that, you know, you're going to elevate each other through the good and the bad, right? Like I love the saying by Brené Brown, which is, I am perfectly imperfect. And that's what I'm going to be like for the rest of my life. I think that the intent with how you move forward is important, but otherwise coming back to the whole community, and especially to get through these hard zones of life, which is, you know, the shame and exercising forgiveness and exercising self-compassion. They all sound so wonderful, but in order to make that part of your daily life and make that a practice and not make that a way of living takes work and effort. And it's important to lean on community to help you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. We should not be going through these things alone. And we don't have to be, you know, and so like for me, it took me a little while, but reaching out, joining groups, joining masterminds, finding sisters on a similar pathway, a similar developmental pathway, and who, like you said, have been through similar things and want similar things. That is totally possible for people. I want you to understand that, whoever's watching, that like it is totally possible for you. So in that light, I know that we should probably wrap up soon. I want to let everybody know how they can continue to find their community. And one of the ways is to join our things that we've got going on. Dimple and I are definitely here for you, want to hear more from you. The thing that I have coming up is actually starts this coming Monday, January 29th, and it's a free 5-day mini course that I call Ignite Your True Potential. And it's really for women who are just going through the midlife crisis or any kind of hard time, that want to really get in touch with their inner truth and align with their body, redefine their mindset, and elevate their pathway into their soul's true calling. So I'm going to link to that where you can sign up. Again, it's a 5-day thing that's free starting on Monday. And Dimple, I know you have something kind of similar coming up to share as well.
Yeah, I love what you're doing. It's so beautiful, igniting your potential. And I love that, you know, women can look forward to something that's going to ignite them, because I believe in these words like spark and ignite. I just feel that they're such strong words. For myself, what I'd like to offer women as an opportunity to create community and taking that baby step towards yourself. Now, one of the biggest things that I found has helped me through the dark days, and now it just has become a part of my life and continues to hold me up, is engaging in morning rituals. So that's my biggest form of self-care that I do on a daily basis. And then I bring other things around in my life, either seasonally or occasionally. But for me, engaging in morning rituals, which includes a wide range of activities, and the participants have a chance to really explore what will work for them. I decided to create a 10-day free morning rituals challenge, which basically means you're committing to 10 minutes a day for 10 days to just being open and trying different things as part of your routine. And if you're not a morning person, you don't have to be a morning person. You can do this in the middle of the day or in the evening. So I will include that link. I'll give it to Heather, and she'll include it in this live video notes. But we start our next round. I do it about 3 times a year. We start our next round at the end of February 26th. But in the link, you'll see that the date hasn't been updated. Still, just put in your name and your email, and we'll add you to the list for February, and you'll get notifications once we start gearing up for it.
Great. I just love that. Morning is such a sacred time, and to actually just be like starting off with self-care and compassion rituals, that is just so beautiful. So I'm going to definitely be joining that as well. Okay, Dimple. Well, I just love you, sister.
You too, and I love we did this.
I'm spending this time with me, and we'll be together soon. I'll talk to you.
Okay. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.